Hey, Wrestling fans, it's the Birdman Coca Beware, and you listen to the Card Subject to Change podcast. That's right, you don't want to miss it, and I guarantee you, you can't beat it with a stick, you can't whip it with a switch. Don't even try
it! It's a lot of thought, Nick, and I want to run it by you.
Sure.
I think the surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, Mantar. Everything has a more real sports feel, and it gets you invested that much more.
The dude's teeth aren't probably as big either.
It gives it more of a big fight feel. It makes it feel more real. If that glass shatters, I won't be ashamed. There will be happy man tears streaming down my face. Just the goosebumps will be bumped out. I'll hold my arm out like The Rock so you can see my goosebumps. And I'll have happy man tears coming down my face if that glass shatters. Oh, my goodness.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. I am your host, never wrong, Nick Bull. Joining me as always is my tag team partner. We're co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little tired, as I'm sure we all are, because Tony Khan likes to make his shows go for 200 hours. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's how we're going to
joined in studio.
That's how we're going to treat this show. It's definitely a marathon. As we tape this Memorial Day weekend, Monday afternoon, we're all waking up from the late night that was AEW Double or Nothing. And as CZ was saying, we've got a guest to join us today to help us break down the show.
That's right. We got one of our favorites here, Mr. Tim Regal, the commentary, the play-by-play voice of SCW Pro Wrestling. Tim, how are you feeling today?
Dude, I am good. Like you said, I think, like we were talking about before we started how we're going to start this. Let's just get it out of the way, guys. This was a long show. Okay, if you strapped in for every minute from pre-show till the end, this was 6 hours long. I mean, WrestleMania pre-COVID did that, but like this was 6 hours, and it felt like 6 hours. Like it was like by the end of it, we're like, and obviously me, CZ, we were down at our boys down at Lopez Pizza hanging out. Yep. But even that, it's like, okay, we're going long tonight. It's like, damn. But overall, no, we'll get into the show. But we'll just get it out of the way. Damn, that was a long night. Thankfully, I actually switched my shift at work. Okay, I actually worked Saturday. Normally I have Saturdays off. I actually worked Saturday, took today off. And thank God that I did that, because I did not go to bed till after 1 a.m. That's we'll get that out of the way right away. Guys, it was long. It was really long.
Oh yes.
I looked at the clock. It was 11 o'clock when the Swerve Christian Cage match ended, and I'm like, oh my God, we still have Anarchy in the arena, and it's going to get time because they want things to get crazy. I'm like, this is nuts. And at 11:30 when it got over, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is at AEW. It seems like every pay-per-view is WrestleMania length. It's just like, holy smokes. It takes it out of you. It really does.
And before you got in the studio, Tim, Nick and I were talking. I can name 3 or 4 matches that could have easily been relegated to Dynamite or Collision. to not make this as long as it was.
What I was saying last night is there were a couple matches in the middle of that show you could have bumped to the pre. I know you want to have all the big matches on the big show, but you could have bumped one of those matches to. You could have bumped a couple of those matches to the pre-show, and those pre-show matches either bump them all together or put them on Collision, man. Like this, if you would have cut out a little bit in the middle and just made it maybe an hour less, I don't think this would have been nearly as much of an issue as it is. But when you're sitting there, and I think, and there's a match on this show I'll get into that when we get to it. That the length of this pay-per-view really did hurt this particular match.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I kind of feel the same way. I think you could have cut out 3 matches of this show. It would have cut out an hour easy and trimmed it down an hour. And I don't know, maybe less is more. I'm not here to compare WWE and AEW, but you get a card of WWE from Saudi with 5 matches on it, 6 if you want to count the pre-show. And that clocked in at just under 3 hours, and everybody seemed to be fine and dandy with its time. I think if Tony and company would have cut 3 matches from this card, it would have flowed. It would have flown better. I also think the crowd would have been into it more because I think there were large times of the show, the crowd was dead or kind of just tired or catching their breath. We'll talk about those matches as they come up, but we were talking before you came in, Regal or Tim, and CZ and I both kind of agreed, like, yeah, I would have put this match either on Dynamite or Collision just to save time.
Yeah.
It's ironic you mentioned the WWE thing, the 5-match, 2.5 hour, the Triple H era pay-per-views where we're getting these 5-match pay-per-views where on one side, sometimes you don't feel like you're getting enough. And then here it's like, we're all like, okay, there is a point where it gets to be too much. And this show, I know, obviously it's a holiday weekend. They're out in Vegas, so you got to think for them it's only 9 p.m. But even then, even at 9 p.m., if you're a fan that's in that arena live, you've been sitting there for 7 hours.
Right.
So you're going to, even then, if it's only 9 p.m., you're still going too long. But yeah, no, like you said, ironic thing of WWE side, sometimes you don't feel like there's enough. And then WWE side, it's like, or AEW side, it's like, okay, there's too much going on over here. We need to trim this down.
How did you think the show was stacked? How did you think the order of the matches? Do you think that affected things, or talk about what you thought of the stacking of the show, Regal, and do you think they put the right matches on at the right times?
I think despite the fact the show had way too many matches and went way too long, I do feel the placement of the show itself was fine. I feel like they had the hot open. They give us a couple of really good, hot, solid opening matches, and then a couple cool downs, and then at the end, like I said, if you would have taken like the first 2 segments of the show, and then you take the last 4 or 5 matches of the show, if you cut out a couple in the middle, I think we'd have been fine. But we'll get into it here in a minute. But yeah, no, I think the placement itself, despite having too many matches, the placement of the matches themselves, I think, was about where I would have placed everything if you had to put it all in one show.
Sure. Wiz, what do you think? No. Go ahead.
Overall, I get the concept of wanting to showcase your talent, wanting to give as many people a spot on the card as you can. But yeah, I look at things like the triple threat match, the 3-way for the world title, and I think with the reaction that Jericho's been getting, with just that being one of the shorter matches, move that to one of your weekly shows. That doesn't need to be here. Nobody cares about that title anyway. I mean, am I wrong?
It's the FTW title. It was a title created for one person, and we're out here like Samoa Joe's even like flirting around in this division. It's like, what are we doing? this is a fake title, guys. Like I don't
It was a fake.
I've never quite understood that one.
It's a fake title, and it's getting full pay-per-view coverage and getting a triple threat match. And this is one of the matches I would have put on regular TV programming. I mean, I know it had some fun spots with the dice, getting thrown in the ring and seeing that stuff go down, and you kind of showcasing Shibata and Hook a little bit, but this could have been done on regular TV, in my opinion. I thought it took away from the show, and I thought the fans were kind of dead during this match. One of those matches where they were maybe catching their breath, but definitely one of the matches I would have cut from this show. To me, Regal, you say it all. It's a fake title. It's getting all this time.
Yeah, there might be some younger people. For those of you, if there's anybody out there listening, who wasn't around in the original ECW, this is a title Taz created to piss off Shane Douglas. Like, what are we doing?
Right. Exactly. You're exactly right. And then it made sense going, back in the day when it was around, because Taz had it and Sabu kind of had it, and that helped their feud out. But right, this title was a fake title created and it was kind of used to spark a feud up. And now it's getting full run on AEW. I don't get it. But the show starts with one of my most anticipated matches on the card. I like both these guys. I think both these guys can work. They had a good story, somewhat going into it. Will Ospreay wins a gauntlet match on Dynamite to get the berth to take on Roderick Strong for the International Championship. And that's what kicks off your show. But the crowd was really into it. I really liked that this started the show. I thought this was a good idea for this match to start the show. I just don't know about the involvement of the Kingdom in all this, or the Undisputed Kingdom, excuse me, and how them interjecting themselves in this match kind of took away from the match, in my opinion. I know what they were trying to do, but to me, when they did their spots and interjected in the match, it brought this match down. I don't know. Did you guys feel the same way?
So every time you hit the nail on the head. Every time I've thought, man, this is getting really good, these guys are going to kill it, then they just went to the outside interference. And yeah, it definitely dragged this match down from what it could have been. This could have been like an all-time great banger opening match if you would have just let Will and Roddy just do what they do. People kind of forget sometimes. About 5 or 6 years ago, people talked about Roderick Strong being one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's had some injury issues since then, and then kind of the goofy, Adam gimmick and all that. But here's the thing. Since he started getting back into the international title picture, we've seen the matches where he can still go. And yeah, if they hadn't have been so dependent on the Kingdom, which I will say this many times, love Mike Bennett, great guy, amazing human being. You cannot pay me enough money in the world to care about Matt Taven. Okay? This guy is the most boring, bland, generic, I don't care wrestler I've ever seen. And I just, the Undisputed Kingdom, we'll save my thoughts on the Undisputed Kingdom as a whole for just a little bit longer. But this could have been an all-time banger, but yeah, too much Gaga, which as we'll get into it, kind of becomes a theme of the entire show at points.
Well, I mean, when you have a show with Anarchy in the arena, you're going to expect too much Gaga, but it just is even more than there should have been. And I agree, this match would have been excellent without the outside interference. Overall, I think it tainted it. I would like to see particularly like a Wardlow doing something else. He seems to, again, being lost in the shuffle, much like he was after his breakup with MJF a year or two ago, just kind of getting swept under the rug. But yeah, this match had the potential to be the best match on the card, honestly, and it was tainted with all the outside shenanigans.
And once again, we have a big-time star in Will Ospreay. You know, he beats Roderick Strong for the international championship, and this is kind of in my bugaboo with AEW is you have all these big names signed, and you have them chasing secondary titles. I know they all can't chase the main title, but look at Will Ospreay now. Look at Okada now. Look at Edge, in my opinion. We'll talk about Mercedes Moné later in the show. I don't know what it is, but you've got all these mega stars holding secondary titles unless they're trying to legitimize all the belts that they have. That's all I can think of brainstorming here out loud. I was happy to see Ospreay win, but it's kind of like it kind of keeps him out of the title picture, in my opinion. When he wins this title, he's going to defend this title. He's not going to be in the main title picture. But I can also see them wanting to bring legitimacy to their belts and by throwing them on the people that I've named.
It's kind of a catch-22 because, like you said, you don't want to put Will Ospreay in a predicament where he's not in the main title picture because he's that good, but you also need to legitimize your 9,000 titles.
Yeah, well, there's too many damn titles in AEW. And what I guess in the presser last night, Tony Khan said he liked the idea of a mixed tag team title, and I'm like, oh dear God, please, for the love of God, no. Like, no, we have too many titles. Like, the one title that they didn't do that they should have done, instead of the women's TV title, because we had to create a title to give Billy Starks, as much as we all love Billy, why did they not do a women's tag team titles? And they should have the one title belt that they didn't do. They should have is a unified women's tag team title, like a cross-brand women's tag team title belt.
I can agree with that.
That is the one division that didn't get a title belt that probably should. But yeah, your FTW title, your international title, your TV title, your all these like pure titles. Like every time I turn around, there's somebody wrestling for a title belt. But yeah, but then your main event guys, your biggest stars, they're not wrestling for your top title, which doesn't make a lot of sense. We'll get into it. We'll save my talk for the world title until we get to that match. But
let me ask you this though. I know we're going to save that big part of the talk for the world title match, but does not having your biggest stars in that main title picture lessen that title?
I don't think it lessens the belt. The problem is it lessens your current title holder. Now, I understand you want to give your champion a win. You want to give your champion a win. And here's the thing. I think I'll spin it back to the international title because we're on that subject. For Will, they're going to do this push where he's going to win a bunch of stuff on the way to the world title, which we kind of got a teaser of where that's going to go in the pre-show because they announced that the Owen Hart tournament is coming back, and the winner of that tournament is going to get the world title shot at All In. And I've said since day one, Ospreay is winning the title at All In. And so basically I said, as soon as they said it, I turned to you, CZ, and said, well, thanks for telling us Will Ospreay is winning the Owen Hart Memorial Cup tournament because, yeah, that's a give. If that's how we're going, that's a giveaway. Which on the women's side, you could go a couple different directions with that, but I think on the men's side, it's definitely Ospreay's tournament to lose at this point.
I can agree with that. And let me ask you this: they didn't announce any of the participants yet. So, what does it look like if Will Ospreay is not in that tournament?
I would be shocked because if it's not, then I don't know where you're going from that point. Unless you're going to Max or Hangman, which God only knows what's going. I mean, kind of know in the realm of what's going on with Hangman, but it doesn't sound like there's any timetable for a return for Hangman. So, who knows? But we'll talk about the women's. We'll save that. I'll table that for when we get to the women's title. So I think there's a couple of different directions that I think we're going to spin off in that direction.
For sure. Nick, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. All right, I'm back. Anyway, we're talking about the Ospreay Roderick Strong opener. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what happens after the match and what might have been the biggest moment of the night. It definitely got the biggest pop for the crowd. And I want to ask you guys, of course, I'm talking about the return of one Maxwell Jacob Friedman and how it was teased up on the video screen and how it was brought back. Did AEW make a mistake by doing it this early in the show instead of saving it, sitting on it, or did they do it at the right time?
You want to go first? Or you want me?
Go ahead, Tim.
You go right ahead. It's one thing I thought of last night because
I think this was absolutely perfectly placed in there because you just had Roddy with the shenanigans of the Undisputed Kingdom. Now, I thought it was a little odd to have Adam come out and do his own solo entrance at first, but
right, I was kind of caught off guard by that, but
I was surprised you didn't do a run-in and then Adam cuts the promo afterwards. But
right,
as soon as Adam comes out by himself and he's cutting the promo by himself, we know exactly. I know exactly where this is. We know where this is going.
Right.
But then the way they did it with I loved the video like from the POV where he walks in and you see the memorabilia, and if you actually somebody actually like slowed it down, there was little like callbacks, little trinkets to previous matches, and then where he pulls up the picture. But then, I mean, obviously the music hits, the building comes unglued, and he walks out, and you can ask, and CZ can confirm, the biggest pop for me is when he comes out wearing the damn leather jacket with the denim vest over the top of it.
Triple H, man, right? When Triple H returned.
A clear homage to the Triple H return at the Garden. But then he gets in the ring, and here's the thing. They actually, when the music hits, they actually have the POV on Adam Cole, and you hear Cole, like you see Cole go, oh, shit. Like, Cole realizes, I'm in trouble because there's nobody out here to back me up. And then MJF gets in the ring, and basically they do the thing, and then Max kicks him in the dick and basically says, take your buggy-whipped, armed, greasy-haired, whatever the hell he said, ass out of my damn ring. Essentially, I'm pretty sure we just dropped the devil storyline in 30 seconds. We said, that was Maxwell coming back saying,
yes.
Yeah, this sucked. We know it sucked. We're not going to bore you with 3 months more of this crap. Adam Cole gets kicked in the dick. He's still got a few months left before he's ready to come back. But we're just tied up the loose end on that and sending him off to do whatever he's going to do.
But I thought that was funny how we just wrapped up that devil thing just like that. We're done.
And then Max proceeds to cut an all-timer babyface promo, essentially this new, and he even looked it. First off, dude's definitely been hitting the gym while he was out because Max came back looking absolutely shredded to the gills. Still needs to find some better tanner, but he came back almost too dark this time. I spent a lot of time on MJF's tanning skills or lack thereof in the past. The hair even looked a little bit crazy, had a little bit of stubble. I actually said it. So now he's stone cold MJF because the whole I'm a little this is me. But the moment he said, my favorite line is when he says, no more BS, no more kangaroo kicks. We're not doing stupid, goofy, bruchachos. No, none of that. Max is back. Max is going to be Max, and he's going to just be the character that he needs to be. Obviously, then for anybody who doesn't know, Wolf of Wall Street, one of my favorite movies. So I popped so hard for the "I'm not effing leaving" reference.
Yep.
I'm going to ask straight up. That tattoo is. There's no way that tattoo is actually real, right?
Hey, for his sake, I hope not.
if that tattoo is real, MJF managed to actually finally beat Cody at something. In this case, it was getting a worse tattoo. At least he only put it on the back of his thigh instead of on his neck.
Right.
I loved the line, "I don't need a New Japan or a Vince McMahon." I thought that was really good. Good singer in there. I popped for that line. Laughed pretty hard for that one, but it's good to see him back, right? It was good to hear that pop. It was good to see that return. And I love how just in the matter of seconds, it's a matter of moments, the devil thing is gone. It's over, and we don't have to worry about it being tied up. I thought they handled that part really well.
I agree. I'm with you, Nick. That was my favorite line. But the whole promo was just epic. And I love every bit about his comeback.
I mean, yeah, that might have been my favorite part of the show, to be honest, as we're going forward. Because I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Max fan. Max is my dude, but yeah, that was the perfect way to reintroduce him, tie up the loose end, and basically have him say, "I'm going to be back to being, the MJF that you all love, not the MJF who's trying to, be goofy and do stupid stuff."
From the MJF announcement, we get the big pop. We get the tie-up of the Devil storyline. We get that tied up, and now we go to our second match of the night. If I'm not mistaken, it is for the Undisputed Trios Championship between your champions, the Bang Bang Gang, taking on the newly reunited Death Triangle. Another a match that was added last second on last week's Dynamite, leading up to this show. I think a match where we like all the participants involved. I think a match where all six guys can work. But I don't know if it was a match that fit onto the show. I think this was one of the three matches when I go back and look at the card that I could have put on Dynamite and been perfectly fine. It would have cut some time out of the show. Not taking away from any of these guys. I do want to say it's good to see Jay White back on a pay-per-view. Jay White being used in a pay-per-view capacity. But this was one of the three matches I thought that could have been on a regular show. But happy that Jay White was on the pay-per-view.
And I gotta say, I'm happy that Juice Robinson is back in the mix and made an appearance to help them retain the belts. That was the best part of this match for me, is seeing Juice come back because he's been gone for too long, in my opinion, and I just love everything he does.
And Juice was his juicy self with that celebration. Partying with those guys afterwards after they're having a hard-fought match. He's there trying to get them up and party and give them the belts and stuff. It was good to see Juice Robinson back. There was some good parts of this match, but I think a lot of this match got lost on me as I'm was trying to process still the MJF return and what all was said in that. Maybe this match falls victim because of the MJF return. I don't know. Tim, what'd you think about this trios match?
The match itself was fine. I love Death. I would have loved it a lot more if we'd have put the trios titles on Death Triangle, because I think that would be they could go out and have an amazing run of matches. But I mean, maybe you still got some plans down the road. I'm not as hard on the Bang Bang Gang as some people are. Jay White I still think is a guy that at some point will hopefully get up to that like main event level in AEW. I feel like it's kind of been a little bit disappointing since he got there. But the match itself was fine. And like CZ said, great to see my boy. A lot of people don't realize this. SCW Pro alumni Juice Robinson worked a couple of the last shows of Generation 1 of SCW Pro. And just generally all around good human being, guy we all love, Juice. Great to see him back. That mullet he was rocking was absolutely the mullet afro, a little bit of combination of both. But, that man's hair is just like since he kind of adopted the whole crazy gimmick is just absolutely glorious, beautiful way of just. That hair is always fun to just like, oh my God, it's just going everywhere. But great to see Juice back. I still in AEW, and I've said this, Juice might be the guy who has the breakout potential from that group. Obviously, he's had some injury issues, going through the WWE system, and then the time he spent in New Japan. A lot of miles have gone through him. A lot of bumps have been taken. But hopefully he can stay healthy, because I do think Juice is an unbelievable talent to have on your roster. So, like I said, match was fine, but like you said, one of those matches that could have been sent to a pre-show or sent to a Dynamite or a Collision if we wanted to shorten the show up. But I enjoyed the match for what it was.
Yeah, I agree. The next match on the card is probably the best character in wrestling right now on the female side of things, and that's Timeless Toni Storm. But I'm just going to come out and say it right up front. Serena Deeb has not been relevant since Punk shaved her head, and I don't even know if she was relevant then.
Yeah, she can go to the ring. You can't take anything away from her in-ring talent. I kind of think they probably had a crossroads where like, well, who do we feed Tony next? Who can we feed Tony on a pay-per-view? And I think this is probably they rolled the dice and came up with Serena Deeb. Contrast in styles, you got Serena Deeb, the quiet worker, that prides herself on in-ring perfection. Then you've got the over-the-top glam of Timeless Toni Storm, and what she's been doing on her latest title. And I was entertained by this match. I thought it was a decent match. It's not one of the matches I would have cut. I would have kept this match on the card. Actually, I think this probably should have went right after Will Ospreay and Roderick Strong. I thought the two told a pretty good story. And then the antics of Toni Storm. I just can't take my eyes off her and what outlandish, stupid things she's going to do next. And that's entertaining. Regal, what did you think about this match? The build up to it. I don't know if they could have put anybody else in there with Toni Storm right now during this run. And it seems like Serena Deeb was the logical choice.
You pretty much hit the nail on the head with this one. Like bell to bell, this match was actually really good. Serena Deeb is a hell of a worker. I will give her all the credit in the world for her in-ring ability. I will say, however, she is not the most charismatic of workers. And when you're facing someone with the charisma and the character and everything that Tony has,
yes,
it's just not going to work. And to the point where the Tony character is so over. If somebody had walked into Lopez Pizza last night at the start of that match and said to me, okay, who's who in this match? That person that's just walking in off the street that knows professional wrestling but hasn't watched AEW probably thinks Tony's the babyface, because that crowd was absolutely on the 100% on the train of Timeless Tony.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, I thought the match was great. I loved the continuation we are finally starting to get some movement where you see the Mariah May is going to throw the towel in, Luther stops her, and then when Tony sees it, she sees Luther with it, and she's admonishing Luther because, as I've said to anyone, if you want to understand what this storyline is, there is an old movie called All About Eve. It is basically the dead ringer for, I think, what this storyline is supposed to be, where Tony is playing an obviously dead-on take on Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard, if you know that movie. But if you see All About Eve, it is literally about an actress who finds a young protege ingenue who eventually manipulates her way in to take over. And I still think that is where we're heading at the end of this story. And we're finally starting to see a little movement on that. And obviously, without going into too much detail, I absolutely adore Mariah May. So I think she is taking this character, like, from day one. She has understood the assignment on this in every way possible. Those two are, pardon the pun, dynamite together. I absolutely love them. And yeah, Mariah May, all the praise in the world. Them like laying on the stage and the confetti at the end just killed me.
Yeah. And
it was like a Hollywood ending. It was perfect.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love them.
Tim, I want to capitalize on something you said, and I want to kind of clarify. I'm not trying to shit on Serena Deeb and her in-ring ability. I think she's a fantastic worker, but you said, you hit the nail on the head there yourself when you said that you can't put someone who's not very charismatic against someone who has more charisma than she knows what to do with. The person who's not very charismatic is just going to fall flat. And that's why I said what I said, because I had no reason. I was given no reason to care about Serena wanting to come after the title. It's unfortunate because she is a great worker, but she just doesn't have that other factor that she needs to carry herself in the picture with Toni Storm. I can't wait to see where this is going to play out with Mariah and Tony, and I think you're right. It is.
I have a prediction. I have a prediction for where we're going here. Your next event is Forbidden Door. That lines up perfectly with a Tony versus Mina Shirakawa match. Okay. And then you have the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. And there are two directions I potentially see this going. Number one, you have Mariah May win the tournament, and then your big turn, angle, whatever you're going to do is at All In. There is also another possibility. This tournament seems like a perfect spot to have a mystery person beat in the last match of the first round, and then boom, it's Jamie Hayter.
Ooh, okay.
Jamie Hayter possibly taking on Toni Storm at All In. That would be the biggest women's match AEW could put together at this point, is to have the return of Jamie Hayter in the tournament, have her win. She goes to All In to face Toni. I'm hoping, I really hope that is where we're going to go, because the Mariah May, Toni Storm, whatever the payoff for that is going to be, the storyline can actually work after Toni would lose the title, because then you could have them fracture because of that.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, I think we all want to see Jamie Hayter back. She's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. She's been out for over a year. AEW not exactly forthcoming in the injury department, which, being a privately owned company, they don't have to be. And we all hope that she's come back. I think this is, if she is able to come back, I think this is a spot they've been setting up. So I'm going to cross my fingers and hope we're getting Jamie Hayter in this tournament.
Not a bad suggestion. And of course, portraying that into an all-in title shot would be excellent. And then maybe that relationship between Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May gets fractured, beginning it All In. with the result of that. But I like that. I like that fantasy booking. I like that idea here by our guest, Tim Regal. You are listening to Cards Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. I don't think we should break yet because I think we got a couple matches we can gloss over before we really get to the meat and potatoes of this, CZ. And I think you would agree. Is the next match on the card, is this Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
I'll just come out and say this. This was one of the 3 matches I wouldn't have on the card.
Same.
I know that the best friends breaking up is a big deal to some. Chuck Taylor no longer being able to wrestle. Orange Cassidy taking on his former friend here. This match, to me, just didn't feel like it needed to be on a pay-per-view unless it had a higher stipulation. Unless this was like a parking lot brawl or a no disqualification match. But then again, what good would that be when you got that big cluster at the end of the show and anarchy in the arena? It would take away from that. So I just, me personally, I got nothing against either one of these guys. Orange Cassidy's one of the biggest stars in that, homegrown stars in that company. I just didn't, this match didn't really do anything for me. I thought it could have been on Dynamite and everything would have been just fine, just the same.
Can I ask you guys, did Trent Beretta quit at the end of this match? Because Renee came out to try an interview and he said, "I'm not doing this, I'm done," and walked away.
Yeah, Rocky Romero tried to stop him too, right?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the storyline. I'm fully expecting the swerve is going to be where Trent is going to end up being the one to join the Don Callis family. Which actually I think is a pretty decent landing spot for heel Trent. Real quick, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, I will just give my basic thoughts. Trent Beretta, again, fantastic in-ring guy. Never going to be a main event guy, but he's a guy you can definitely have on your always. I will never complain about him being on the roster having a match because you always know it's going to be quality. This match was perfectly fine. It was a nice, entertaining little match. It did their story. I did enjoy the Orange Cassidy coming out dressed in the black T-shirt. That he's a little bit darker because he's lost his friends. Even changing the music back to the "Where Is My Mind." But yeah, like you said, this is one of those matches you could have put on the pre-show, or you could have moved it to like Wednesday night's Dynamite, and I think it wouldn't have hurt the show at all. But yeah, other than that, nice little match, nice match. They told their story they needed to tell.
Yeah, I agree. It was a decently put together match. They both did a good job as expected. Orange Cassidy, I don't think very often has a bad match. But yeah, I would have put this on Dynamite. Maybe even a main event of Dynamite if you want to go that far. But it seemed out of place with no stipulations or anything, just a regular singles match on the pay-per-view. We kind of touched on the next match a little bit, but we can go into a little more detail. That is the 3-way for the FTW title. I don't know if we have much more to say to this match, honestly, but I'll leave that up to you, gentlemen. Only thing I want to say is I've said it before on the show. I've always been a Chris Jericho fan, but it is time for him to fade off into the sunset, to ride off into that sunset, in my opinion.
So I'm actually going to disagree on that one for a minute. I actually enjoy Jericho in always reinventing himself and kind of see where he's going. I don't think he's going to be a top guy anymore, but I don't have a problem with him kind of doing this mid-card thing. And I will say this, I'm a huge Brian Keith fan. So if he is going to be part of the learning tree and that's hopefully going to get him some TV time and get him some more things to do, I am all for that. I've always been like guys like him and Lee Moriarty that don't get a lot of TV time that are actually really, really good. But no, Brian Keith is a guy that if you were paying attention for like the last 2 or 3 years, just tore the indies up, had banger matches everywhere he went, and is a guy who, like I said, maybe not a top guy, but he's always going to be a guy you can throw in there that's going to give you a good match. But I will say for this version of Jericho, the one thing I love more than anything in the world is he actually comes out of the babyface tunnel. Like the whole gimmick is that he legitimately thinks he's a baby. He legitimately thinks he's the baby face. Like that part I absolutely adore. Like it's like this is great because he actually is playing that he thinks he's the baby face. The match was also, did we need plunder and tables and everything when you already have a barbed wire cage and an anarchy in the arena on the show?
I know.
Like, that was unnecessary. Also, can we try not to drop Shibata on his head? Like,
Yes.
for the love of God, that table spot was one of the scariest things I've seen in a long time. Like, that could have ended very badly. Like,
which table spot are you? The one table spot that scared the shit out of me was Big Bill almost getting posted by that when Big Bill went through that table.
And he almost impaled himself on the leg of the table.
He almost impaled himself. I'm like, oh my God, that would have been bad. That would have been awful.
The I am the table spot where they rolled off of it and then Shibata basically landed on his head. God.
Yeah.
No, this match was a little bit sloppy, and yeah, you could have cut it, but I do enjoy the Jericho character. And Hook and Shibata are good guys. Like I said, I don't have a problem with this match in a vacuum, but like this did not need to be on the pay-per-view, especially when you already have Plunder and all that stuff coming a couple matches down the road.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why I would have taken this off the pay-per-view as well. This would have been the third match I would have taken off. You cut those 3 matches out, put the rest of the show together, and I don't think anybody's complaining about length here or how late that it went. But you're right. You can't have the Plunder matches ahead of even the bigger Plunder matches. And you hit the nail on the head there, Regal, with what you said. Like this could have been done without. But the positive coming out of it was the bounty hunter Brian Keith getting some exposure.
Yes.
Exposing himself as the masked man, the newest member, we are to assume, of the learning tree of Chris Jericho. So if that's what the good thing that is, if that's the good that comes out of that, then good. Another guy getting some time, some quality face time with the Jericho faction. I'm for it too. So I liked that touch at the end.
I agree. And I like Brian Keith a lot. I hope this is what propels him to be on TV more often, to have some banger matches for us coming up, because I know he can pull it off. Let's use this time. We've got 5 matches left, so we're about halfway through the show. That, to me, seems like a good time to just pause. Nick, what do you think?
He took the words right out of my mouth, brother.
All right. You are tuned into Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook Country Financial. We'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsors.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Card Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune into Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast, where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered, with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For Frequency's Sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Low Pies, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. And we are breaking down everything double, 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 or nothing. Essentially, the 5-year anniversary show of All Elite Wrestling, where it all started for them 5 years ago in Vegas. They brought it back to Vegas for essentially the 5-year anniversary. And we are in the midst of breaking down this show. I'm your host, Never Wrong, Nick Bull. Joining me, as always, co-host and tag team partner of the Wizard DZ. And we've got SCW Pro play-by-play voice, our friend and yours, Tim Regal, joining us to help break down this show. So far, we're halfway through the show. If you're talking about the main card, we haven't even really talked about the 0 hour, but there were a couple matches on it. We're halfway through the show, and we've got, if you look at it, a back-loaded card. A lot of big stuff to happen yet on this card.
We do, and the next card, or the next match on the docket, is the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship Eliminator match,
Eliminator match.
I could.
Okay,
we talked
stop it.
before the
Because I'm going to say right now, if I ever hear the word eliminator, that's going to be too damn soon. Can we just call it a non-title match? Like, why do we have to call it an eliminator match? Just call it a non-title. Then if Takeshita wins, he gets a title shot at Forbidden Door or something. Nobody would. I'm supposed to get every other match, like with any non-title match with a champion. Oh, it's a title eliminator match. It's a non-title match. Just call it a match.
I agree. I'm with you, Regal. I totally agree with you, brother. Totally agree with you.
How many times did they say eliminator on commentary last night? Like over and over. Like also, just beat it over the head with a hammer. Like don't. That's a bigger topic that I get into sometimes. And I'll just summarize it. Like there needs to be a sign in the AEW booking room that says we don't do what they do, and that's one of those things. It's like. That's what WWE does. Don't do that. Don't beat people over the head with, eliminator. Like, no, don't. Stop it. Like, just call it a non-title match. Yeah. There. Off soapbox now.
What he said. What he said. I agree with this guy right here. Like, every time I heard it too, I was cringe. I'm like, God, it's a non-title match, okay? Yes.
And here's my opinion. Okay, use the Eliminator match moniker. I absolutely hate it just like you two do. Don't put it on a pay-per-view. If it's a non-title match, for a chance at a title match, it doesn't need to be on a pay-per-view. I'm not saying that anything against Moxley or Takeshita. The talent there alone is enough to have on a pay-per-view match. But the fact that it's a Eliminator match for Moxley's championship, that can be relegated again to a Dynamite or a Collision. And then if Takeshita does win, put the title match on the damn pay-per-view. Although, with it being the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, I don't know what kind of agreement AEW has with New Japan, and if they would allow the title to be defended on one of their pay-per-views. Forbidden Door, I'm sure, absolutely, 100%. But this match did not need to be monikered as it was, only to have Takeshita lose and have it be on a pay-per-view. That's my opinion.
Like I said, the match itself was fine in my opinion. This is where the show really started to get a little long in the tooth for me. I think this is where I kind of started getting up and walking around the bar a little bit. So some of this match kind of just blurs together. But like I said, the match was fine. I think a lot of people did maybe expect Takeshita to win this, to maybe do a title match. Moxley has a title match coming up in New Japan with Evil. And there's a lot of speculation. Huh? At that Dominion. And there's a lot of speculation Evil might win. Oh God, please no. But because you will not find many wrestlers I just go away heat for me more than anybody involved in House of Torture in New Japan. But I almost expected them to have Takeshita do something to win because they had him Pillmanize the arm. I felt like maybe they have Takeshita do something to win. He gets the world title match. He loses the world title match. And then they do something to the arm again to have Moxley have an out going into the match with Evil if he's going to lose the match. Obviously, they didn't do that. And a lot of the speculation might be that, yeah, maybe New Japan didn't want a world title match against a DDT guy because they are kind of protective like that.
Yeah.
But no, the match itself, fine. But again, especially if you're just going to have Moxley win. I know you want to have Moxley out there, but this did not need to be on this pay-per-view.
No.
I think everybody kind of bought into Takeshita winning since it was, no pun intended, an eliminator match. Everybody kind of thought, oh, wow, he's going to find his way to win and get a title shot later. Let me ask you this, Tim. Forbidden Door, next pay-per-view for AEW, a little over a month as we record this. Who is Mox defend against if he walks away from Dominion defeating Evil? Who do you have Mox defend at Forbidden Door against?
So the one thing we haven't done on our Forbidden Door is change the title. So that's almost why I think they might have Mox squeak by Evil. And then possibly you get Mox versus Naito at Forbidden Door, and Naito wins the title, which I would much prefer. I mean, literally, there's a short list of about 5 people in New Japan I'd rather see hold the world title less than Evil, because I could get, you could send House of Torture away, and I would be so much happier with New Japan. Yeah, I think Naito would be the match if they're going to do the big money, like, world title match for Forbidden Door. And like I said, the one thing they haven't done, they haven't switched a belt at Forbidden Door. So maybe that's what we're going to do.
I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't mind seeing that. It's history there. Seeing a title change hands in AEW at Forbidden Door. We haven't seen that. But I agree with what you said, Tim. This match did not need to be on the pay-per-view, especially with Mox getting the win. If Takeshita had walked away winning this match for a future title shot, sure. But I digress.
Maybe that's why I was a little let down after this match, because I thought for sure Takeshita was going to win. He was going to get a big pay-per-view win over Moxley, set it up for later title shot. Not saying he needed to take the title off Mox, but I think a win here helps Takeshita more than it does Mox. With Mox, with that built-in eliminator non-title thing, he could have lost this match and not lost anything. So I was bummed that Takeshita loses a little steam. He's had, 2 really high-profile matches with Ospreay now, and with Moxley, comes out losing on the other side. I hope this isn't a losing streak. I hope it's a losing streak he gets out of quick, because I think he's special. He's one of my favorite guys in the company. I love watching his matches. So was a little down after this match, after he lost, to be honest with you.
Oh, sorry.
I think does that wrap up our eliminator, our title eliminator talk on that match?
I think we've eliminated the title eliminator match from contention.
I'm sorry, Regal. I had to.
I'm sorry. When did we decide I'm playing the part of Stevie Mo on this podcast?
Shout out to our friend Stevie Mo out there.
That is the
This
the second time in less than a week that Stevie Mo's name has been dropped on the podcast.
Stevie Mo, I'll say an adult joke. Stevie Mo's like herpes. Once we've gotten him, we can't get rid of him.
Oh man. That's going to bring us to one of my favorite moments of the evening. The next match on the docket is the barbed wire steel cage match, which was just brutal. Let's talk about the match before we talk about the moment. I thought it was well put together. Anytime I don't like the cage. I'm just going to throw. I wish there had been more barbed wire around the cage, like on the cage itself, and not just up at the top. I think it would have looked better. I thought it was lacking for a barbed wire steel cage match in barbed wire, but the match wasn't. They used as much barbed wire as they could. In fact, there was a crown of barbed wire that got put on both gentlemen's head at one point. But what did you guys think of before we get to what the outcome was, what did you guys think of the match itself?
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, okay. I thought the match actually was great. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this card, and this is where you've got the stuff that should have been on this show. Like the barbed wire cage, yeah, they could have had a little bit more barbed wire, but you had the blood. I mean, Malachi Black was just covered by the end of this. Like I said, I enjoyed everything this match. I have no complaints. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Adam Copeland, not top guy. Dude, the AEW version of Adam Copeland we've gotten has been, to me, almost perfect. Like, he's not doing the edge, shaky, kind of delivery he had on that last WWE run. He's working with younger guys. He seems rejuvenated. I've always been an Adam Copeland fan, so to see the kind of resurgence here and to see him do this, and you can tell he's having fun and he's doing the kind of stuff that he wanted to do. I've enjoyed that. And Malachi Black actually, at least somewhat being able to work, which, I mean, we've all heard the rumors that Malachi Black might not be the easiest person to work with. And that's putting it mildly. No, I thought these two guys did a really good job together, and like I said, would have liked maybe a little bit more barbed wire on the cage itself, but I think they used the barbed wire well. But then, they did the obligatory spot where you somehow bust the cage door open and got out of the ring, and that led into the stuff at the end, which I thought was fantastic. So, what do you think, Nick?
Visually, this match had it all, right? You've got a visually based guy in Malachi Black, busted open, he's bleeding. The ring's a car wreck. There's debris everywhere. Both guys are bleeding. And this is what you would have. This is like a blow off to a feud. These guys I thought they did a pretty good job of building this feud on Collision with and on Dynamite as well, with Copeland feuding with different members of the House of Black. They took his wedding ring, that it gets personal. So you settle it in a cage. The lack of barbed wire around the cage didn't bother me like it did CZ. That didn't bother me at all. At one point, it was almost as if they were using it too much. I'm like, oh man, we can't get any more blood than we already have. Malachi was bleeding really good. But this I think shows how Adam Copeland's a consummate professional. Very selfless in this match, right? Very much not his kind of match that he does usually, but when he does them well. The House of Black looked like $1 million in this match. Copeland did a good job of making Malachi Black look like a formidable foe, look like a monster in there. I really enjoyed this match. This was one of my top 3 matches on the night. I didn't know how much the cage would play a factor. But when that cage door opened and you seen almost the double turn from the House of Black, standing at Edge's side, looking at Malachi like they're going to beat him down, and they beat down Edge. Open the door for the biggest moment of the match. Let CZ talk about that. But the match will be known for the moment, but the match was also good itself if you want to go back and watch a good barbed wire cage match. It was done very well. None of it was hokey. None of it looked campy or hokey. I hats off to both guys. I thought it was a well done match in one of my top 3 matches on this show.
Yeah,
and
even real quick, CZ. Even before we got to before the moment, even the start of the match with the Edge entrance, with the coming out of the stage, with the fire, and the Slayer entrance music that he had for this match, and then apparently the name is not trademarked because you look up on the screen and sure enough, the Brood. It's apparently.
That's a trademark they must have let run out, right?
Well, I also, because we've had movies called the Brood and stuff. Is the Brood such a general term that might be one of those things where they're saying you can't trademark that because it's such a general term?
It could be.
So yeah, no, the Brood apparently it's one of those things where he's got the music, he's got the trademark. Like, I keep waiting for one of these days him to just show up like, oh hey, we got the trademark to the name Edge. Edge, he's now Edge again. But I will turn it over because sitting next to CZ at the bar last night, I can tell you that I've seen CZ have happiness a lot. This moment was one of the happiest as a wrestling fan I think I've ever seen CZ. So CZ, take it away to tell us about this.
So before I get to the moment, I just want to let you know I got a text from Standards and Practices. We've been relegated back to 2000 WCW. We are no longer allowed to say the word blood. I'm sorry. It has to be the word red from here on out. But no, first of all, I love you don't see it happen often, and I think that's a good thing because it can get overdone. But I love when you see someone come out from under the ring and just cause mayhem. But when it's Gangrel that comes out from under the ring, you've got the Brood entrance with Edge. You've got Gangrel coming out, spitting red, not blood, red, into Malachi's face. And that was, I was beside myself. That was just amazing seeing Gangrel come back. The whole everything of this match was well put together, and the ending just made it that much better to me.
How much of you, CZ, when that ring apron started to rip and somebody started to come through, how much of you wanted it to be, it's Kane? I knew it wasn't going to happen, but part of me thought that. I'm like, wow, this is cool if it's Kane, but no, it wasn't. I knew it wasn't, but that's right. What I thought of immediately. A good touch with Gangrel. It was a good touch. After you hear the last interview, I think Adam Copeland did with Chris Van Vliet, it's out there, and it's been clips of it have been everywhere, how he tried to get Gangrel for the Hell in a Cell match with Finn Balor at WrestleMania 39. It didn't work. They didn't get Gangrel in. Getting Gangrel on a pay-per-view so people could see him and have that moment. Christian was the only thing missing, right? It's too bad Christian couldn't have been a part of that in some way. But still cool to see Gangrel helping out Edge. Geez, it's been a while since we've seen Gangrel on a big-time pay-per-view, correct?
I mean,
yeah.
He's done a couple like one-off appearances for AEW. There was a pay-per-view that he did like a random spot on. I can't remember what one, but obviously to see him coming back with Edge was amazing. And the thing is, it's one of those things. The Brood in the grand landscape of pro wrestling, the Brood was not around very long.
No,
But
they
they're
weren't.
they're one of those lasting images of the Attitude Era. They're one of those things that you always remember because of the cool because the entrance was so unique and so cool at the time, where you had these three guys that were doing this cool entrance with the music, and obviously Christian and Edge become breakout stars. Although, keep in mind, one of the things too, Gangrel was older when he started in the Brood, when he started with WWE. David Heath was wrestling in Japan for many, many years before that, and was Vampire Warrior in ECW at one point and all that. So David Heath, Gangrel, I will say for this, looked very good for being an act, only, doing random, indie appearances here and there for as long as he has. I was always a big fan of Gangrel because I always liked the fact that he wrestled a little bit differently. He wrestled to fit that gimmick. But yeah, to see him at Edge back, and yeah, like I said, masterful, nostalgia pop for, like I said, an act not around very long, but they're one of those acts that everyone remembers, along with like guys like The Godfather and stuff that are from that Edge era that will always get the pop because of who they were.
Correct. And Gangrel looked like he aged well. Like, he didn't look bad. He's older, but
he is a vampire. So,
and a vampire. I mean, oh God.
I need a cup of red now.
Oh, but I think all in all, we can agree that we enjoyed this match. We enjoyed the moment. There wasn't anything. I didn't think there was anything bad about this match. I really say it's my top 3 matches of the night. I put it up there because I thought it did a great job.
I agree.
Agreed.
Nick, I'm going to let you start this next match off because I know your feelings about one of the participants. I know my feelings about one of the participants. You shake your head. You know where we're going.
I know where you're going.
I know Mercedes Moné doesn't do much for you. She doesn't do a lot for me, but all in all, I thought this match was pretty good against Willow, and I enjoyed it. It may have been a little longer than it could have been, or than it should have been, but what really stuck out to me was not Mercedes coming away with the win. You had to know that was going to happen, but the turn at the end. Statlander turning on Willow at the end is what really did it for me. I thought that I personally didn't see that coming, and I was excited. I'm not the biggest Chris Statlander fan either, but that's what got me. And here I am rambling, Nick. I said I'd let you take over this one. What are your thoughts on this match, Nick?
We get the long-awaited debut of Mercedes Moné in AEW. She's been here now close to 2 months, and we're finally seeing her first match. And in no way, shape, or form was she going to lose this match to Willow. Not in her debut with the amount of money they're paying her and how they've portrayed her. I'm not the biggest Mercedes Moné fan, but it was a good match. I can sit here and say the two ladies put on a good show. I think Willow Nightingale has come so far in such a short amount of time. She looked this was more of a breakout match, I think, for Willow than Mercedes. Willow did some stuff in this match she usually doesn't work that way. We've seen a more aggressive side of her coming out. I thought Mercedes Moné looked good for her first match. Good to know that she's fully healed from her injury that she suffered in a match with Willow over a year ago, or close to a year ago now. It did go a little long, but I thought the story they told was really good. And then the move there at the end with Chris Statlander turning on Willow. There you got your ready-made feud. She can worry about Mercedes Moné at a different time. Now she's got she lost her title, but now she lost her friends. And that's going to be the bigger picture here for her going forward, is going after Chris Statlander for the turn last night I like this match. For not being a Mercedes Moné fan, for kind of scoffing at the fact that she thinks she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time, I can put that aside and tell you I thought it was a decent match. She worked well. Both these ladies worked well together, and I like this match. I enjoyed it.
Regal, what are your thoughts on the women's match for the TBS championship?
I thought this was the second best wrestling match on the show, to be honest. Outside of Will and Roderick, I really, really thought that these two ladies absolutely delivered. Mercedes saying she's the best women's wrestler on the planet might be a little bit of a reach, but Mercedes is really good, and a lot of people don't realize. I always try to give Mercedes credit. Some people don't realize they think she was just a WWE hire because she was Stoop's cousin. That is not the case. She actually did train and do some indies before she went to WWE. She was a lifelong wrestling fan. She went to Japan because she wanted to go to Japan to wrestle. She wanted to work that style, and she is very good. Her presentation in AEW has been a little bit odd and maybe playing into the WWE tropes of the presentation. And the other thing I think that nobody ever... Willow has gotten herself over so organically and become so beloved by the AEW crowd. And me included, I absolutely adore Willow Nightingale. She is a wonderful human, wonderful person. She is a just absolute delight to see in the ring, and if you followed her story of almost losing her career with a broken neck at one point, to having to rehab, and then for a long time, one of the stories on her was that due to that neck, no mainstream company was willing to sign her, even though she was so good. And then finally, AEW giving her a chance, and she comes in and has made the most of it more than I think anybody even ever thought when she first showed up. That she has become one of the most over acts period in that company. And so no, I think Mercedes wasn't losing here, but this might be a case where eventually Willow loses upward. I think there's a path there. I
see that.
You have the obvious storyline. I'll just say this: Willow fell into the Sting category on tonight because, yeah, it's probably never a good idea when your partner, all of a sudden, when you're going into a big match, starts dressing in all black, essentially lingerie as their gear. That probably should have been a sign. And I knew the second, because the match was fantastic. Then the post match, and Stokely's doing the yelling, and she pushed him down, and I'm like, I know what we're doing here. And then sure enough, as soon as they got to the ramp, I'm like, here comes the Kevin Owens spot, and exactly what happened.
Tim Regal's telltale tales of watching wrestling. If your partner's dressing in black, and especially lingerie, the knife's coming in the back, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just say this. I don't know about everybody else, but I, for one, welcome our evil alien overlord. So,
the last thing I'll say on this match, this is another instance where you've got a big name talent going after a secondary title. Now I'm not against it in this case because there was the built-in rivalry with Willow from the injury. What was it, 14 months ago, Regal?
About a year ago.
Yeah, it was about 13, 14 months ago. It was a little over a year. And like I said, not just a broken ankle. It sounds like that ankle pretty much shattered. So they had it's basically been rebuilt.
Yep.
Right.
Were you saying? Were you done with your point there, CZ?
I am.
Okay.
You guys go ahead. I'm going to bow out for just a minute. I need to do something. I'll be right back.
So from Willow and Mercedes, now does it go to Chris? This is the triple main event. So that was the first of the three. We go to the patriarch, the fatherly figure of Christian, battling Swerve Strickland in for the AEW World Championship. Should this match have went on last, or should have Anarchy went on last, Tim?
This is one of those cases I would say your world title should end the show, but obviously when you're doing the stuff that you're going to do in an Anarchy in the Arena match, this is one of those times where I actually think those rules do not apply. So
I would agree with you there. Yep.
I think that this match, and keep in mind, a month ago when they started the build, this match was a completely cold match. There was, this was the Young Bucks basically giving Christian a title shot because they just wanted to be dickhead heels to Swerve. I will say you had the built-in story there because you have now the patriarchy with Nick Wayne involved, and I'm like, Nick Wayne, Swerve did almost kill Nick Wayne at one point, so I guess in that regard there's that. But I thought they did an amazing job coming into this match with the build and the callback of having Swerve hit, or Nick Wayne hit Swerve with the glass picture of his family, whereas they did that. And one thing with Christian is you always know, in a match like this, he's gonna give you a good match. He is one of the best. He's a pro's pro. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do in there. This match I felt was a little, again, and this seemed to be a theme of the night, which I can finally get into this a little bit too heavy on the outside interference, which they had like 6 or 7 matches in this show involved outside interference. You have your coaches, you have your agents. Somebody needs to sit down in that room and be like, okay, we got a stadium stampede, we got a barbed wire cage. 2 or 3 of you can have outside interference in the match. Y'all need to figure that out. That's one of those, as a booker, you don't want every match to end with some type of outside interference finish where there was way too much of that on this show. But Patriarchy, great stuff here. I did like the spot where they got Nana thrown out first, and then the Patriarchy finally gets, then Nana comes back. One of my favorite things in this match, I do get a shout out because I've always been a big fan of like the pageantry of the entrance, special entrance, and stuff like that. Fun fact: a lot of some people, I know The Warriors, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yes.
So as soon as Nana come out clicking the bottles, I'm like, yes. And then Swerve coming out with the vest, I'm like, oh yeah, like that. That's a callback to one of the. I was trying to figure out how to describe the Warriors for people that haven't seen it, because it's an early 80s, it's a late 70s, early 80s underground action movie. It is like hip hop culture, and this essentially what Swerve is based in is one of the most influential movies to like pieces of pop culture to that genre. You've seen it in rap videos, you've seen it in the video games and everything. But yeah, Warriors, for the time I discovered it when I was about 16, has probably been one of my favorite movies of all time. So when he came out in the gear, I was like, that's badass.
And he had the Warrior symbol on the back of his the vest, the tights. He looked great. Like it really was. He knocked that out of the park when you're right. When Nana's clicking the bottles, Warriors come out to play. I mean, they knocked it out of the park. It was perfect. And Swerve coming out in that attire, the same colors. Props to Swerve. And you're right. It's an 80s cult classic. There's really no in between on the Warriors. You've seen it. You had once you've seen it, and it's definitely one of the more influential quoted reference movies out there by people, and for Swerve to give the Warriors props on this stage was pretty cool.
The match itself, I thought it was fine. Like I said, a little bit heavy on the outside interference, but the match itself was fine. This is the match where I think the live crowd was, I think the length of the show hurt it, because by this point the live crowd was burnt. They were burnt out. They were in that place where it's like where they were like, we have to get through this match to get to the Stadium Stampede. And I think they wanted to try to maybe save a little. Some people probably try to save a little juice for the Stadium Stampede. So yeah, I think this match got hurt by the length of the show, because the match itself was really good, but the crowd wasn't as responsive. And I mean, it is. I am a huge fan of Swerve, and I'm happy they gave him the belt. But I think, did they hurt Swerve by not having, but because of it is nobody's fault. Did it hurt Swerve because of the way things worked out? He wasn't able to have a longer story where he ended up taking the belt off Hangman instead of Joe.
That's a great question. That's a
really good question. I think I know what you mean. I think it would have meant more. I think it would have meant more if he had beaten Hangman.
Yeah,
with
I can agree with
the
it.
feuds that they had. I think when he beat Joe, I think it split the crowd. I think a lot of people liked Joe. A lot of people liked Joe as champ. And I know I did. Swerve as champ is fine. I got no problem with Swerve being champ. But at Joe's expense, I felt bad. I felt bad for Joe. I don't think it should have been Joe. I think it should have been Hangman. It would have meant more. But for this feud that Swerve and Christian had, after Swerve won the belt, I'm like, who are they going to have him defend against? I had no idea. And Christian wasn't even on my radar. And this feud turned into something good. Like, Christian brought his A game like he always does. He's a consummate professional, like Regal mentioned. So I was happy with the Swerve Christian thing. Who's next for Swerve? What's that?
That's an interesting question. I mean, you have Forbidden Door.
I know. Who's next for Swerve? You asked the question if it would have meant more coming from Hangman Page or Joe. I think it would have meant more if he beat Hangman. My question to you two, is who's next for Swerve? Who's his next feud?
You got that brings up a point I just thought of too. One of the problems in this company: Moxley, Danielson, Maxwell, all your top superstars, they're all on the babyface side. And so Swerve as champ, I hate to say it, he's like 4th or 5th from the top as far as the babyface pecking order here.
You can throw Will Ospreay in there.
Oh, and I didn't mention Ospreay. So one of the things, and this is where kind of just some Christian of the Wolves, is that you didn't really have a top guy. So I'm going to throw one out there. Is this where it feels early? I'd give him a win over. I'd have him wrestle, because I don't think you have Okada wrestle a New Japan guy at Forbidden Door. I think you make that weight. I throw Okada in there. I do give it where the Bucks throw Okada in there with him and have Swerve beat Okada. I think that is the one heel you can have him beat where it actually would help really elevate him if he beats Okada, because everybody knows Okada is still one of the best in the world.
I like that idea.
I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be upset with that at all.
It elevates Swerve, correct?
Yeah.
Gives him like a keynote win for his title reign. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. And you could do it at Forbidden Door and it'd be fine. No one would complain about that one bit, I don't think. CZ, your thoughts?
I completely agree. I can't say anything more than you have. I think it would help solidify him. It would boost him up to that next level that he needs to be at. I see good things all around there. That being said, gentlemen, we have one more match to talk about, and it's a shit show, as Justin Roberts said right off the top. But before we get to that shit show, I think we need to take just a little bit of a moment to focus. So here, with that being said, is our good friend JT Energy and his weekly moment of focus. If you give me just a second here to get there. Or not. It's not letting me play it. We'll go. Okay. Talk about the main event. We'll come back to that. I'll work on it.
We'll talk about the shit show now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shit show, but it's a beautiful shit show. I'll tell you that.
And just for those listening that haven't watched it yet, when we say shit show, it's in the best form possible. This is supposed to be an overbooked, absolute shitstorm. And it absolutely was. You have the elite of the Young Bucks, the World Tag Champs. You got Okada, the Continental Champion, right?
Yeah, we forgot about that. Oh,
what's that?
That's a belt I forgot still exists.
I know.
Jesus.
And the scapegoat Jack Perry against Team AEW. And Team AEW's had its share of bumps and bruises since its formation in the lead up of this match. You got FTR, you've got Bryan Danielson, and of course you've got a returning Darby Allin to fill Eddie Kingston's spot. These matches have always been kind of a focal point of the past when it comes to the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. They're asking you to suspend disbelief just a little bit more in these type of matches, and it's fine. And everybody knows what to expect. It's expect the unexpected. I think one of the funnier moments of last night's match was the music at the beginning of the match. Last year they played, of course, Moxley's music the whole time. And it throws me back to a Gangstas match from ECW where they play the rap music the whole time. But we start out, we have Darby Allin was the last entrant, and his music played for a while. And was it Nick Jackson or Matt Jackson? I think it was Matt Jackson that got on the mic and said, hey, cut this crap, put on a real banger. They put on the Bucks music for a few minutes. And then Bryan Danielson did us all a favor for possible moment of the night by having him play his theme. And I don't know. It just, to me, it screamed 80s movie montage with the final countdown playing and seeing guys just kick the shit out of each other in the crowd. I loved it.
And then I'm going to be honest, my biggest pop of the match was Matt Jackson grabbing my phone. Turn this off. It cost me $200,000 every 2 minutes this damn thing plays.
This song's costing me $200,000 every time it plays. That was fun.
I popped so hard for that.
I did too. That was fun. I think everybody in the match was performing well up to that point. I think the crowd was eating it up after a long night. You know, we're over 4 hours into a show before this match even starts, and of the main show. And it just goes to show you can have fun during wrestling, watching wrestling. You can have comedy going on, and this back and forth music thing was just an example of that, in my opinion. What other parts of this match stand out to you? There was a lot of stuff going on in this shit show, Regal.
I mean, here's the thing with the stadium stampede, Anarchy in the Arena, whatever match we're doing for this type of thing. If you're looking for a 5-star Meltzer classic, you're looking to the wrong place here. If you want to just have some fun watching guys just do crazy spots, diving off of arena entrance ways and going through tables and every possible piece of weaponry, plunder you can think of, this is the match. This is the stuff that for you. And as a kid who grew up, as a kid watching, I was a kid. I was about 17, 18 years old by the time. But coming into my wrestling, fandom, where it started to take a broader horizon than just the big two, was when I found ECW. And if you're a guy like me who, when you found ECW and the first time you saw like one of those New Jack matches, which I think the first time I saw one was like a four-way dance between like them, the FBI, Balls and Axel, and like the Dudleys, and just watching 8 guys just go out there and just destroy everything in the arena, and it's like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Like that's what this is, and I love like just this card, just the fact of it's turned into the thing of, if we're gonna go with this, let's just go all the way and see how absurd can we make this. And like, I love the music parts. I love them just brawling around the arena, and then they go to the back, and then there's I thought first they were gonna light the trash pile on fire. I'm like,
I did too. The way it was stacked up, it looked like it was like a start of a bonfire.
And then, where did the truck come from? Does anybody know where that came in? Like, all of a sudden, there's a truck with "scapegoat" written on the side of it, and then or me literally screaming at the TV to cheering on Darby as he's drowning Jack Perry because Jungle Bitch can kiss my ass. It's like your irrational hatred of Jack Perry. I'm like, no, I don't like him. But
you had the pop then when Jack Perry got set on fire.
So I was gonna get to that, but yeah,
okay.
They go back, and the first thought of like, wait, why is he all wet? And then I'm like, oh wait, he did get water, but that was a while ago. He shouldn't be that wet. And then he grabs Tony Khan. And I'm like, here we go. And they grab Tony. He drags Tony out, and then all of a sudden, there's Darby with the flamethrower, and I'm like, oh my god, we're actually going to do this. And they light Jack Perry legitimately on fire, which, if you're going to light somebody on fire in a situation like that, that was probably the safest scenario I think I've ever seen it, because his pants were clearly the special flame retardant, like Hollywood stunt material. He was doused in water. I'm assuming probably the flame retardant gel was present underneath the shirt as well. And then the Bucks were literally right there with the fire extinguishers, which you could literally see the fire extinguishers when they were brawling on the stage.
Right.
So it was a cool spot. When you introduce the flamethrower on Dynamite, it's like there has to be a point where at least he shoots the thing off during the match. I didn't think they would actually light somebody on fire.
That's how you get heat, right?
I mean, the literal heat there. I mean, there's a flamethrower, and then I knew from the start that this was going to build to the moment where, sure enough, Okada goes under the ring, he pulls out the box, and there's the thumbtack bottom Reebok pump shoes, because like literally the Young Bucks have a brand new shoe, which by the way released today. So yeah, the new Young Bucks Reebok pumps.
And I laughed when Okada took the pumps and handed them to the Bucks. Try these. Yeah. And they hang Darby up, Jay Briscoe style, from the rafters. Now, granted, he's only 5 feet off the ground. It wasn't that big of a deal. Right.
And I guarantee, I'm going to say this: you're going to hear some aggregator sites like Eric Bischoff are going to try to bash them for, oh, how dare you hang someone from the ceiling when Martha Hart says he was 5 feet off the ground. People, come on. Relax. Don't listen to shitheads like Cornette. I'm just, we're going to see the Cornette, cartoon where Darby's hanging behind Cornette or something. Don't listen to that shit. He was 5 feet off the ground. It was fine. And then, yeah, the super kicks with the thumbtack shoes. Absolutely love. Then, Brian comes in. He gets the hope spot. And then eventually Brian falls to a Psycho knee from, of all people, Jack frickin' Perry, which I guess if you want to get the kid over, Brian is winding it down. It's the way to do it.
You
We're
set the
going to
guy,
give
you set the
Brian.
guy on fire, and that's the guy that gets the pinfall, right?
Yeah, I mean, you did set him on fire. The least you can do is let him get the 3 count for the win.
Right.
But as much as I dislike Jack Perry, kudos to him for being willing to go actually out there. And how much of that is also him just being like, oh, CM Punk was mad at me for using real glass. What's he going to think when I light myself on fire? Like,
oh, that had, that rationale, that line of thinking was going into it, right?
Without a doubt. But no, this match was a beautiful disaster car crash spectacle that it is supposed to be. And like I said, if you grew up on New Jack matches or, God forbid, the Great American Bash 2000 Junkyard Invitational, you ever remember that one?
Yes.
Another one of my favorite beautiful disaster matches in wrestling. No, I absolutely love this. Like I said, it's not a 5-star Meltzer classic, but I give it 5 stars for fun. And just absolutely everything that this needed, which was just, let's just go out there and see how insane we can go.
And as expected, the Elite go over. They continue their momentum after taking out Tony Khan, taking out Kenny Omega. Now they've taken out Team AEW in the most dire of circumstances in Anarchy in the Arena. So the momentum grows for this heel group of Bucks, Okada, and Jack Perry. And
yeah, and essentially, if they're the newer NWOS type thing, yeah, this was not the time yet to give them their comeuppance.
No,
and as we all know, in AEW there is one match more dangerous than Anarchy in the Arena, and I guarantee you, at some point down the line, we're going to get another Elite versus Team AEW match, and that is where it's going to be. It's going to be in the blood and guts.
Yep, and that's usually coming up here pretty soon, is it not?
Yeah, that's usually sometime in the summertime, so we will see.
Yeah, blood and guts on the horizon. Probably be a continuation of Team AEW against the Elite. It seems to be going that way. But all in all, a beautiful shit show. CZ, any thoughts on the main event?
You guys hit it all, I think. Sorry, I'm still working behind the scenes to get our moment of focus ready to go. But no, you guys hit the nail on the head.
We can just tell JT I sabotaged it and I bumped him from the show.
Oh.
Here's your focus. Don't listen to JT Energy. He's a weirdo that thinks he's a cat.
So coming out of Double or Nothing, next big show is Forbidden Door. What do you look for them to do? What's the biggest thing we're going to see coming out of this going into Forbidden Door, Tim, in your opinion?
So it's tough to say because Forbidden Door is, you're going to have the New Japan involvement, and we're kind of in this. So for anybody that doesn't follow New Japan, obviously Will and Okada left and became AEW talents, and we're kind of in this rebuilding era of New Japan where they've got a lot of like the next generation talent that's on the way up. The guys like Yota Tsuji, Ren Narita. So I am very intrigued to see what the Forbidden Door card. You still have Naito there. I would assume Tanahashi's going to somehow cover himself in KT tape and somehow hobble himself out to the ring for a match because for Tanahashi now the acting president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and like is literally held together by KT tapes and wishful thinking at this point when he wrestles. So yeah, I don't really know where we're going for Forbidden Door. Like I said, I kind of have an idea where we're going for All In, but still a long way to get there, and who knows if maybe there's an ulterior plan. But yeah, I'm very interested to see because of the side on the New Japan side of who's going to line up where, what the Forbidden Door card is going to look like, and I will say it's going to be interesting now because with Rossi Ogawa now out of the way, which it sounds like Tony Khan that was one of the reasons Tony Khan did not like it, including the Stardom talent in Forbidden Door. I could see a very heavy female presence with Stardom on this Forbidden Door show.
Yeah, that would be a unique thing. We haven't seen that in the past. That would be an interesting twist to the show. And like you said, with Rossi Nagawa now gone, the door seems to be open there to work with Stardom in this capacity on this big show with Forbidden Door. CZ, you've been fervently working behind the scenes to bring us this JT Energy moment of focus. Go ahead. You have anything to preface it with, or are we just going to jump right into this moment, recalibrate here and refocus?
We're going to recalibrate and refocus and jump right in.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And today, we're really going to take this in. Today, we're going to focus on being appreciative of these things.
Okay, well, it looks like I'm still having technical difficulties. I am going to apologize to JT because we can't get it on the air. But look for the moment of focus to hit his YouTube later in the week. I'll message him and kind of explain that we had some technical issues, but
It was okay. Me, JT. It was me all along, JT. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I will fully lay the blame on you for sure.
Tell Mr. Energy. Tell Mr. Energy it was my fault. I'm sure he will not question that, and I'm sure I will hear about that in very colorful ways.
Absolutely. Well, Nick has been frozen. He jumped out. He's going to try and jump back in, but I want to kind of I want to ask you, Regal, any final thoughts on AEW Double or Nothing?
So overall, this was a good show. It was a good show, but it was a show that was way too long. Dare I say, this is the worst good. This is a bad good show because it's a good show, but it was bad because it was too long. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, I don't see because sometimes with AEW, especially with AEW, there's been times I've went back and sat down and rewatched the whole thing by myself in a vacuum so I can really focus. This is a show I don't see myself ever sitting down on my couch with a bucket of popcorn, slapping my hands together, saying, "Okay, baby, let's rewatch Double or Nothing 2024," because it's 6 hours freaking long. I might rewatch the Stadium Stampede. I might rewatch the Barbed Wire Cage. I might rewatch Mercedes and Willow. But I'm never sitting down and rewatching this whole show again. This will be a show that will have multiple. If I ever do a rewatch, things that are just going to get hit the fast forward special because the show was too darn long, and I do think at the end of the day it does bring the overall rating of the show down a little bit. This also overall, this was a really good show, but it didn't have any of the trademark AEW pay-per-view. Oh my God, that was a certified 5-star banger show. That being said, nothing on this show was bad. So overall, you can't complain with that because nothing on this show stunk. It's not like we had a really good WrestleMania, and then we had to sit through a Jay versus Jimmy match, which was one of the worst pieces of garbage I've ever seen in my life. We didn't have that on a show like this, but yeah, nothing went break them to the the bar on an AEW pay-per-view is at least something's going to hit that 5-star range. Where on this show, I'm not sure if anything did.
I don't think it did either. I'm with you there. I don't think it did either.
There was some 4-star stuff, but there was nothing that hit the 5 or over range. And I would definitely always be entertained watching the Anarchy in the Arena, Stadium Stampede, Anarchy in the Arena match again. But overall, especially with the length, this is one of those where you might cherry pick stuff, but I would not go back and watch the whole show again. But overall, good, not great, and rating down a little bit because of the length being at least an hour too long.
I think those are all fair statements, and I think kind of collectively we've agreed on those and talked about those during this show. Entertaining show, yes. You're looking for that 5-star banger, you're not going to get on the show, but at the same time, there's plenty of good stuff to find if you so choose. If you do go back and watch the whole episode, you might have to take a day off of work, though. Chew up a good part of your day. It would chew up a good part of your day. It's coming in just about 6 hours, counting the pre-show.
If you haven't watched the show and you're going to watch the whole show with the pre-show, make sure the day is off work. Make sure that you don't have any chores you need to do. Make sure your meals are pre-prepped, and make sure the coffee has been brewed.
100%. Gentlemen, I'm going to try one more time with the moment of focus. I'm uploading it into the studio, but I want to tap dance a little bit to get there, give it time to upload, and we'll end the show with that. But we've got a solid month of June coming up for you. Next week on the show, we have Solomon Tupu. I'm excited about that. He's Black and Brave trained, based in Chicago right now, so that should be a fun sit down, a fun chat. After that, we've got Gunner Brave coming on the show, one half of the 815 tag team, also Black and Brave trained in a Chicago-based wrestler. The weekend of the 16th, we've got Clash at the Castle. I want to kind of speculate on Clash at the Castle a little bit. Is this where we've got Drew and Damian Priest already announced as the title match in Glasgow? Is this where we see the recrowning of Drew McIntyre?
I would be shocked if they didn't. I think this was the plan, and I think as much as everybody knows I love my boy Damian Priest, it would feel insane to have Drew go to the Clash at the Castle again and not win again 2 times in a row. This is clearly because this is the one time where the script's going to be flipped and Drew's going to be the babyface when he walks out there. And that place is just going to be hyped. And no, he's going to win. And then by that point, we're getting pretty close to the timetable for Punk's return. And I think we get the Punk versus Drew match for the title at SummerSlam.
What about Gunther winning the King of the Ring, though?
You say that, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the King of the Ring thing where they got this. So maybe we're not getting the Punk. Or do we do a thing where Gunther, because they say, what if Gunther says, hey, I want to challenge Cody. Cody eliminated me from the Royal Rumble. Cody stopped me from my chance before. What if he says, I want to challenge Cody?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd love to see that match.
Also, since we're filibustering and trying to just kill a little time waiting on Mr. Energy, guys, who took longer to come, the Wyatt Six or Veer? It took you a second to figure out that one.
Say that one more time.
Who took longer to come, the Wyatt Six or Veer Mahan?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Are these guys ever showing up? Like, what the heck?
When do you debut them? Do you debut them on a weekly show, or do you debut them at a pay-per-view?
I almost expect it to be tonight, but as we're recording this, it is Monday afternoon. I almost expect it to be tonight, but I don't know at this point. Like, clearly, and here's the thing. I've enjoyed, following the breadcrumbs. I've loved the QR code thing. I've enjoyed following the breadcrumbs. You can. There's multiple people on Twitter that literally have, Zaputer filmed this thing to death, to the point where we figured out, kind of what the deal is. But so I've enjoyed the going along for the ride of the story. But it's like, okay, at some point they actually do have to show up in an arena, right?
Correct.
But yeah, no, that was my question for the weekend, since they didn't show up in Saudi Arabia. Who's taking longer here? In my little way of saying it.
It's a fair point. It's a fair question.
Maybe
they do debut tonight. That would be something to behold, something to talk about. They do have a couple weeks now to build for Clash of the Castle. A little over a couple weeks. We've got one match so far. Do you anticipate any more matches being announced tonight on Raw?
I would assume something maybe with Nia to heat her, because they're going to heat Nia up to go into SummerSlam. But yeah, well, that's all I got for Raw tonight. But I don't think anything else I
that is perfectly timed.
Perfectly timed.
Go ahead, Nick.
Well, like the AEW pay-per-view, we're going a little long here today. This is that's all right though. That's all right.
DJ's gonna be like, you went over 2 hours. Shut up. Just kidding. We love you, Deej.
Well, one last thing I'll say about the month of June. We announced it a week or two ago. We will be in Waterloo, Iowa on June 15th doing a live pre-show for Absolute Pro Wrestling. Stay tuned to socials. We'll be announcing guests for that soon. But that's going to wrap this episode up here. I'm going to let JT Energy take us out. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, for our very favorite guest, Mr. Timothy Regal. We are Card Subject to Change, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook Financial. Here's JT Energy with his moment of focus, and we will see you next time right here on Card Subject to Change.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And today, we're really going to take this in. Today, we're going to focus on being appreciative of these things that we call holidays. Because there's all kinds of different holidays throughout the year that we get to enjoy. And everybody gets real excited when you get the holidays where they give you a day off work because you want that extra time to relax. Well, today's not about relaxing. Today's about appreciating, because you and I get to relax, not because we put in the work to get a holiday, because countless hundreds of thousands of people came before us and got us the liberty and possibility of having this day off. So that way we could take in and we could focus on appreciating why we have this holiday to ourselves. So today, in between looking outside at your beautiful yard you just cut, looking at your family you just took care of, looking at your grill you just fried food up on, and taking 1 second before you take that next drink of whatever you're drinking today, and think to yourself, take that deep breath of fresh air that you've been afforded, and think, wow, I really appreciate just being here, being alive, and getting the opportunity to live life. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT.